What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome back into another DLF YouTube channel video. It's Tuesday. It's mock draft day. So we're going to continue doing these mock drafts where I'm pulling in actual rosters and draft picks from viewers and comments down in the comment section below. So we've got a pretty cool one today. We got 3 more first round picks to address. This one is coming to us from Tommy Henley down in the comments. So Tommy, thank you so much for asking to do your roster, to do your league and your draft picks. That's what we're going to be running through today, because I think this is actually a pretty interesting and unique situation where this team is actually pretty good. He said that he's the defending champ in a 10-team half PPR salary cap league, and he has 3 first-round picks to add to it. So in this case, the rich keep getting richer, so we have some decisions to make in order to keep and sustain that success moving forward. So let's get into the video. So like I said at the top, we're doing a rookie mock draft. This is a 10-team, 1 quarterback mock draft. Thanks to Tommy, we're going to be using his roster, his league, and his draft picks. So we can look right at his roster and what he has going on for him and then dive into the draft picks. So like I said, this is a 10-team half PPR league with a salary cap as well. So that's going to come into play with a couple of these players when we get to them. But we can look at his roster he's got going on here. He has Russell Wilson and Joe Burrow at quarterback. Very, very good in a 1 quarterback league. At running back, he has Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, and Kareem Hunt. So elite running back core there. Wide receiver, he has Stephon Diggs, DJ Chark, Brandon Cooks, Adam Thielen, Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, and Jerry Jeudy. So he's got the elite guy in Stephon Diggs, and then a bunch of other guys that he can plug and play at any time, given matchups and whatnot throughout the season. And then at tight end, he has Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson, elite tight end group as well. So like I said, this team is very, very good. He is the defending champ, and I can understand why, because this team is very, very, very good. I will note that I did mention about the salary cap, and that comes into play here a little bit. He made a note that because of the salary cap, he won't be able to keep both Alvin Kamara and Adam Thielen after the 2021 season. So he has both of them for this year to try to repeat the championship run again. But after 2021, he's going to lose both of those players. So that's going to come into play a little bit here whenever we get into these draft picks. So let's look at these draft picks, because he has 3 first-round picks to get into in this team. And so we can look at them here in a 10-team, 1 quarterback league. He's got the 101, the 103, the 106, and then the last 2 picks in the 509 and the 510. So the primary focus of this is going to be what to do with those 3 first-round draft picks. How can we continue to sustain Tommy's success here moving forward, and hopefully maybe some of you guys out there are in similar situations, have a very, very good team, and just kind of maybe need one more piece to get into the championship and stuff like that. So let's dive right into this, because we do have the 1.01, and we have a decision to make off the rip, basically. So the 1.01 in 1 quarterback leagues is basically coming down to a decision between Jamar Chase and Najee Harris. Is basically the 2 directions that you can go. A lot of other people I've seen also have potentially Kyle Pitts up there. I'm not going to go there, at least not at the 1.01. He would be in the conversation, I think, for 103, depending on how the draft board actually goes out with who's at 102. But I'd imagine the way this plays out is whichever player we don't take between Chase and Harris is going to be the 1.02. So let's talk about this a little bit, because there's a couple different ways that you can go, Tommy. There's a couple of different ways that other people can go as well. You could go Jamar Chase. Just looking at your team, I believe that the biggest weakness, if there is one on this team, is wide receiver. This is a start 3 wide receiver league. So currently, Stephon Diggs obviously is your wide receiver 1. And then you have probably Adam Thielen as your weekly wide receiver 2, because he's still giving you production and points even at an older age. But then you're going to lose him after 2021. And then your wide receiver 3 is probably a mix of whoever has the better matchup between, Brandon Cooks or Claypool or Jerry Jeudy or DJ Chark or something like that. And then moving forward, without Adam Thielen, you're now going to have to be playing 2 of those guys. So you're hoping, Chase Claypool takes that next jump, and then without Juju Smith-Schuster next year, or maybe Jerry Jeudy takes that next jump. Maybe he gets Aaron Rodgers. But those are all situations that we can't really count on right now to at least build towards the future. So I would say that my 1.01 would be Ja'Marr Chase here for you. We can make the argument for Najee Harris as well, given the fact that you are losing Alvin Kamara after the 2021 season. So you could continue to build out a really strong running back core as well with Kamara, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs. So you could definitely go that route. But my problem with doing that is, at least in 2021, you're not going to be able to start all 4 of those players. You're only starting 2 running backs, and you only have 1 extra flex. So one of Kamara, Najee, Jacobs, and Jonathan Taylor are going to be sitting every single week in 2021 at least. So that's a problem for me. I don't really like to have that problem, although you could, draft Najee Harris and then trade him, or trade one of the other guys, maybe trade Kamara before his salary cap ends up. I don't know if there's a market. That's a whole different salary cap discussion. We're here for the draft. For me, I'm taking Ja'Marr Chase. I think Ja'Marr Chase is the 1.01. You continue to build out your wide receiver core moving down the line throughout the future. And actually, a lot of people really, really like Ja'Marr Chase for 2021 as well, to have a potential, really good rookie season. Not maybe Justin Jefferson, but what CeeDee Lamb had. And CeeDee Lamb was very, very valuable for fantasy football. A wide receiver 2 with Dak Prescott, a wide receiver 3 down the line with Andy Dalton. So you could definitely be plugging and playing Jamar Jefferson probably more often than not in a start 3 wide receiver league, especially whenever you have, 1 or 2 weekly decisions to make at your wide receiver spots. And then you have your 2 running backs at your RB1, your RB2, and then most weeks your RB3 is going to be in that flex spot. So that's at least where I'm going to go. Continue to build down the line for the future with Ja'Marr Chase, with an elite wide receiver prospect, while also having the upside and the potential of playing him, in year 1 in 2021. So that brings us to the 1.03. My hunch was correct that whoever we didn't take was going to be the 1.02. So Najee ended up being the 102. So here again, we could go the Kyle Pitts route. I've done the Kyle Pitts route in 1 quarterback 103s in this mocks before. I don't know if we necessarily want to go that direction, because your tight end room is very, very good. You have Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson. Adding Kyle Pitts isn't going to do much for the production. You would expect that, you have Darren Waller for production now as an elite tight end. And then by the time that he's aging out and maybe the Raiders add more stuff and targets competition for him, TJ Hawkinson takes over. And Hawkinson himself will probably be a top 5 tight end this year too. So adding Kyle Pitts into that tight end core, I don't think is necessarily the smartest move. You could go that route and then try to trade him, before the season even starts, because there is that potential. And I think that the Falcons really, really want to trade Julio Jones before the start of the year. So you can imagine how much hype there is around Kyle Pitts right now. Delete Julio Jones from that roster, and you're talking about Kyle Pitts as the number 2 target in the Atlanta Falcons offense off the rip, an Atlanta Falcons offense that throws 600 times a year. That's a very, very valuable asset that we have in Kyle Pitts, and you can move him for an enormous amount once that actually happens, if that does happen in July or August or something like that. So that's definitely a route that you could take. And, probably I'm talking myself more and more into actually going that route. I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually just going to go straight for my RB2, straight for Travis Etienne, a guy who I believe is going to be a workhorse running back in the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. Maybe not off the rip, but I could very much see a Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders type of situation where, they get a little bit to get introduced into the offense. They work more as a pass catching back primarily. And then, they start to develop that 3-down workload and that, offense, and utilizing that skill set more down the line throughout the rest of his rookie season. And I expect that kind of similarly to play out for Travis Etienne, and especially, moving forward through 2022 and beyond. I really expect Travis Etienne to be a full 3-down type of guy, because that is his skill set. And, pairing him back with his college quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, I absolutely love that situation if Urban Meyer decides to go that way. And I think he is. I think he will. And I think that he's smart enough to at least go that route, because he has in the past with Ohio State when he's had a clear-cut guy like Ezekiel Elliott. He did it at Ohio State with Zeke. I think he'll do it again in Jacksonville with Travis Etienne. So you can build for the future there at running back. You lose Alvin Kamara next year. You got Travis Etienne sliding in as your RB3. I like that a lot because you don't need to play Etienne in 2021. So you don't need to worry about, if he's not getting that workload, like DeAndre Swift took him like half the year to get that workload. So if he's not getting that workload, it's fine. He's on your bench. You're not playing him. You don't need to. But then if he does, you have a really good high quality asset at the running back position. So here we go at the 1.06. Then this is basically the last pick of this draft because we have the 509 and the 510, but you're not getting anyone really of major note at either one of those picks. But we'll talk about both of those as well. But at least the last major important pick in this draft is the 1.06. And with all three running backs off the board in terms of Harris, Etienne, Javonte Williams, I'm not touching another running back here. It's too early in one quarterback leagues. Not doing it, not going for any of those guys. Jamar Chase is also gone. We took him at the 101, and Kyle Pitts is gone. So this is a decision of a wide receiver here. And to be honest, if I were you, Tommy, I would probably look to try to trade back a few spots because we have this whole tier of Rashod Bateman, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and then you can include one of or both of the Moores in here, in Elijah and Rondale Moore, which basically takes up the rest of the first round into the second round in a 10-team league. So you could definitely trade back a couple picks here and still get a very, very good wide receiver. Just based on my videos, my pick here would be Rashod Bateman. I still believe in Rashod Bateman, and I think that he can be a very good, solid wide receiver too in fantasy moving forward with the Baltimore Ravens. So my pick here would be Rashod Bateman, but my ultimate advice for this would be to move back a few picks because if you can gain additional draft capital, I don't know how the rest of the draft board looks, but maybe somebody at 108 or 109 really wants a guy like Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle or somebody like that. You can move back a few picks, maybe pick up an additional second or something like that, and then still have, a really good opportunity to draft a very solid wide receiver. And, if you take my advice and you're going to take Rashod Bateman here, you might be able to move back a couple spots and still be able to take Rashod Bateman. That's how much people don't like the Baltimore Ravens landing spot. So it's all, a lot of theoretical and hypotheticals in terms of my point of view, because I don't know your league and I don't know the draft board and the situations and stuff. But I'm just going to take Rashod Bateman here because that's what I would do if I was still at the 106. You could definitely take Devonta Smith. You could take Jalen Waddle for a high upside guy, a true difference maker at your wide receiver slot. That could be a really good route to go as well because, adding Rashod Bateman, you already have Jerry Jeudy, who might be very similar production and fantasy-wise to Rashod Bateman. Chase Claypool is a really high upside guy. DJ Chark is kind of a high upside guy, but more so of a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Rashod Bateman could be a very similar wide receiver to all those, and you might not want to go that way. You might want just take a shot on a Jalen Waddle guy, and maybe he becomes not Tyreek Hill, but a potential huge splash play, high upside type of a wide receiver. I definitely understand going that route as well too with that pick at the 106, but I would be trying to trade back. That's what I would be trying to do. So finally, we're at the last two picks here, 509, 510. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because you're throwing dart throws here at basically whoever is left on the board. And man, I don't know. I think the first one is going to be Jaelon Dardon just because he was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver pick on day 3. And I think that he has potential to climb the depth chart. Chris Godwin is on a franchise tag. Maybe he leaves next year in free agency. Antonio Brown's on a 1-year deal. Maybe he leaves next year in free agency. So all of a sudden, Jaelon Dardon could be like the wide receiver 3 next year just because Godwin and Antonio Brown aren't there. So it could be Evans and Tyler Johnson and Jaelon Dardon. So, you could spin that any way that you want to try to get Jaelon Dardon to be more of a high upside type of a guy. But I think that would probably be my pick there. The other ones here, Simi Fehoko was a day 3 pick to Dallas. You could go Tommy Tremble for some tight end upside, being that he is in the Carolina Panthers offense and could have a lot of upside there as well too, as potentially the starting tight end and then like the wide receiver 4 on that depth chart in terms of targets. Maybe the 5th option behind Christian McCaffrey as well. So, you know, there's a lot of people that really, really like Tommy Tremble as a late round dart throw. I've actually seen him going in like the 4th rounds of some 1 quarterback drafts as well. So you could definitely take the shot on a Tommy Tremble here at the 5'10". There's a bunch of other guys. You know, Hunter Long could be kind of in a similar boat as well. The team has talked about trying to move on from Mike Gesicki. So Hunter Long could slide in as the new replacement. You could try to pick up a quarterback here in terms of Kyle Trask as a future Buccaneers quarterback. Davis Mills, if you know something happens with Deshaun Watson and he's still not playing throughout the rest of 2021, Mills could easily slide into that, you know, starting role pretty quickly in 2021 without Deshaun Watson. So, you know, you could go either one of those 2 routes and just have a dart throw quarterback 3 just to see what happens. Because if one of them turns into something, you could trade them or keep them and trade somebody else. A lot of different ways you can go. I'm just going to go Tommy Tremble here just for the sake of drafting another tight end who I think could be kind of a high upside tight end in that Carolina Panthers offense as a dart throw guy as your wide or tight end 3 behind Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson. But you can go any way you want with those 2 5'10" picks because they're just dart throws. But ultimately, the biggest part of this was what you're doing with the 101, the 103, and the 106. For me, I went Chase at the 101, then Etienne at the 103, and Rashod Bateman at the 106. I feel like Jamar Chase is probably the smartest move to go at the 101. Etienne, you know, you can certainly make an argument for taking Kyle Pitts there as well. Like I made, if you just want to be able to try and trade him before the season actually starts, especially if the Atlanta Falcons do trade away Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts' ADP is going to go even more through the roof to all the way to the freaking moon, if not Mars at this point with his hype. So you could definitely go there at the 1.03. I went Travis Etienne just to grab another, you know, who I believe could be an elite running back, and you're losing Alvin Kamara next year. That's at least the direction that I went. 106, again, my advice is try to trade back a couple of spots. Pick up maybe an additional 2nd rounder to throw a dart throw on one of these other guys and still be able to take a really, really good wide receiver, because that wide receiver tier could basically go from Bateman, Smith, Waddle, Elijah Moore, and Rondale Moore. That's already, you know, 5 deep right there. You could add Terrace Marshall at the very back end of that. And then you're starting to get into Trey Sermon and Michael Carter territory, which I still really like as well too. So if you move back from 106 anywhere to basically like the 203, the 204, in my opinion, you're still getting a really, really good player. And I would definitely try to do that, especially if you can move back later in the 1st and pick up an additional 2nd would be ultimately what I would like to do. My advice on that one. But I took Rashod Bateman because I like Rashod Bateman. So that's going to do it, at least for today's mock draft video. I'm going to have another one dropping later this week because we had 2 that came in where both of those drafts are happening this weekend on May 29th. So Tommy, you are drafting on May 29th is what you said. So good luck in your draft. Hopefully this video helps you. I got one more coming out on May 29th one more coming out before May 29th as well to help you out as well. So we're going to be moving down through these, basically doing 2 a week here because this has gotten really, really good positive feedback and reception from everybody and all the viewers and stuff. And I think everybody who wanted to drop their team and their roster and their draft picks down in the comments, you can still continue to do that. If you do, please let me know when your draft actually is. I forgot to mention that in the last couple of videos, but I want to make sure that I get these videos out to you guys if you do want me to do a mock draft for your team before your actual draft happens, because if you can go in to your draft with this video in your back pocket, I think that could be beneficial to y'all instead of me just saying, yeah, I would have done this and then you did something differently, and you know, it's all good. But I want to make sure that I can try to help as much as I can and get this out to you guys before your actual draft. So again, Tommy, thanks so much for the roster and for letting me, you know, mock as if I was you. So hopefully that helped you out. To everybody else out there, hopefully this was a little bit of valuable information for you guys as well. And with that all being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching, for tuning in. We'll catch y'all later.